Welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show, where we help top leaders find their pathway to incredible success and a lifetime of happiness. Here is your host, Tom Dutta, the Quiet Warrior.
Everybody, welcome to the Quiet Warrior Show. I'm so excited to be with you today. Hey, we're live streaming today. Give it a subscribe there on the YouTube channel if you're watching us. This will be produced into an international podcast and a YouTube live premiere video. We've got a great guest in the green room today, and I'm really excited to have him on. So without further delay, let me unleash the champ. Let me unleash the champ. Bring him on here, Mr. Kyle Sullivan. Hey, welcome, Kyle. Oh, hang on a sec, Kyle. We got you on mute. We got to unmute you. All right, perfect.
Rookie mistake. But no, it's super excited to be here and really excited for the conversation we're going to have, Tom.
Yeah, man, me too. I want to just tell everybody a little bit about you. We're going to get into storytelling today, and your story is pretty amazing. Everybody, Kyle is the founder of Unleash the Champ. I mean, this guy's got his own coaching practice, and if you know what coaching is, you basically have a relationship with your client, and you basically have to help them find their way and get a contract between them, an agreement to follow you. So, I mean, man, to be doing that at an early age in your career is amazing. I read somewhere in your bio that something about a D1 athlete, a pastor. I even saw a drug addict in there, and I had to read it again and go, man, this guy's probably got a story. So why don't we take it way back? I mean, this is about the hero's journey. You and I met by chance, and I think there's common threads. Let's start and go back. You were born. It all started, your life.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into how did you get where you are and what you're doing today.
Yeah, love that, Tom. And, so born, raised in Louisiana, in the States, so deep South, and, lived a good life, lived a life that was have your manners, be nice, be kind, and kind of just do your thing. And so all of that was great. Grew up in a good family, good values. And about middle school, I started going to church. My dad had an encounter with Jesus, and he came home, said, "Hey, we're going to start going to church." And for your listeners, yeah, church in America, typically on Sunday. And I said, when is that? He said, "It's on Sunday." I said, "Dad, I ain't going." That's when we watch football. As an eighth grader, you can imagine, did the eighth grader win the conversation or did the parent win the conversation? So started going to church, and man, yeah, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't stand it. I thought it was the most boring, stuffy. All of a sudden, in a matter of this encounter my dad had, I had to follow all these rules now. I was a little bit of a rambunctious kid, a little bit of a rebel, and I didn't think, I was like, this is all weird to me.
Yeah.
But what I did want and what I did value was sports. Played sports all growing up. That was my life. Fall was football, spring was baseball. I was always an active kid. And that was my life. All through high school, I was fortunate. My second year in high school, my sophomore year, got to be on the varsity team. And so, Tom, you imagine 15, 16-year-old Kyle now hanging out with 18, 19-year-old guys. And I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be known.
Yeah.
So, when in Rome type deal. And so I started partying. Didn't really know what I was getting myself into. But I realized, like, man, this is really fun people. This is a community. I could do this. So I kind of created this persona, stereotypical jock, and it just intensified. So played sports all through high school, get into college. I pledged a fraternity. I actually try out and walk on the football team. That doesn't happen because I'm about 5'8" on a good day with the right amount of product in my hair.
I think you're about 5'8.5" right now.
Yeah. So it just didn't work out. So I was actually approached by the cheerleading squad for the university to say, hey, would you come try out for the team? Now, let's put context here. You got an 18-year-old guy, and he's just been offered to be paid to hang out with a group of pretty girls.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that that doesn't happen very often. Get asked by the cheerleading squad.
Nope. And so it was a pretty easy, like, y'all gonna pay me to hang out with you? Sign me up. I twist my arm. So anyway, now keep in mind, I started partying, started doing what the guys in high school were doing that were older than me. And time had just intensified.
Yeah.
Because again, I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be known. And I thought that was the path. So between the fraternity, the partying, the cheerleading, I get introduced to drugs. I get introduced to cocaine. And as the movie says, cocaine's a hell of a drug. And I was hooked. I'm already somebody that had naturally just has a lot of energy and wants to, kind of be the life of the party. That just took it to a whole nother level.
That's crazy. Let me jump in and get you to hit the pause button because there's so much you've said, man. I'm madly making notes in my head. I'm probably going to grab my pen and paper in a minute. So everybody just listen to the story so far. So if I get this right, you're about 8 or 9 years old. Your dad has this experience called to his faith. When I give it back to you, take me into that a little bit because I know recently I had a life event that led me back to Christ. I was born and raised a Baptist, Kyle, as a kid, but because my childhood was so messed up with an alcoholic dad, I actually had a picture of Jesus on the wall, and I would look at it and just shake my head because I couldn't believe what was going on in my home. I denied my faith, and then later, just in 2018, this year, my father passed away unexpectedly, but a few months before, I actually reconnected with him because God said, go reconnect with dad. I was estranged from him most of my life because he left home when I was 12 years old. Anyway, I reconnected with dad and then he passed away unexpectedly a few months later, but there was this freeing moment in my life. And so I take 6 months off. I do the ride for cancer, which is a big deal up here in Canada, 225 kilometers on my bike over 2 days. And I fall in the bathtub the first night, crack the hole in the tub, get a serious brain injury. I'm 3 years now coming back. And I've been a executive most of my life. And I spent 2 years stocking produce at Costco and a year waiting tables at a restaurant. Now, I love doing that work because I was introduced to the real world again. But why I brought this up, because when I'm riffing with you, I'm getting stories in my head. I bought a cross, and I said to my wife, "Get me a cross." And I pray. I didn't know how to pray to Jesus, but I phoned a buddy of mine who's in the U.S. He's a pastor. He's also a teacher at a university, John. And I said, "Teach me how to read the Bible." I started watching morning shows with my wife, and I literally prayed every day driving to Costco. I said, "This is hard. It's embarrassing for me. I don't know what my life's going to be. God, for the first time in my life, I'm going to stop being an idiot. I'm just going to pass it to you and let you take the worry." So we'll come back full circle and tell you why I tell you that story. But here you are. And of course, one thing you said that fascinates me is you said, wanting to be accepted and fit in. And that was counterintuitive because, you have an upbringing and great life, as you said. And so I want to know, what is it that made you feel that you weren't fitting in? And then tell us also about why did your dad turn to faith like that? And I have to say this before I give it back to you, that I hated church too, man, because the Old Testament, first of all, is not an easy thing to hear. An angry God if you don't serve and whatever. The New Testament's probably a lot easier to learn, but you're not alone in that. I mean, church wasn't the easiest thing. Playing football, athlete, getting into cocaine. Well, there you are. So I'll give it back to you. I said a few things to you just to recap about your dad, why he had that calling. And then, how did that happen that you felt you weren't fitting in when you're a good-looking guy, very talented, and boredom? What was going on?
Yeah. So the term that people use today is a glow up. To give context to those watching, those listening later, in 8th grade, I was 5 foot nothing.
Yep.
I was 260 pounds.
Whoa, dude, that must have been a balancing act just carrying that amount of weight.
Right. I was in casting conversations for the Pillsbury Doughboy. Um,
I
it
love your
it
sense of
was
humor.
it was, my pants didn't have a number; they just said Husky, and I mean that's for real.
Yeah,
And so that part of my life is I didn't think I could change the outward. So if I felt like, and I became my coping mechanism of wanting to be accepted was I'll make people laugh.
I see.
I'll become sarcastic and I'll become quick witted and kind of jab, but not like hurt. And so that's what I did. And so then it's like, well, these are my groups. This is my friend circle. I want to be with these people because they're perceptively cool, on the playground and in the,
Yeah,
lunchroom. And I was watching, and there were guys before me that played sports that modeled what that behavior should be.
right.
So, and Tommy, it was really crazy because much to my parents' frustration, like I was a really good student until like my sophomore year of high school. Well, what I saw is typically the guys on the team didn't really care about school.
That's probably a common
So
story, right?
so that was things that I was doing too. Is like kind of blowing off school because I would get almost like I don't use the word bully lightly, but it was like ridiculed of like, oh, Sullivan's got a 4.0, Mr.
Yeah,
Smart Guy.
yeah,
And I was like, no, I don't want to be a nerd. I don't want to be. And so I'm battling all of these things of trying to figure out who I want to be, what group I want to attach to. And so I think that was a lot of because I was trying to jump from thing to thing, I lost who I was in that season of life.
yeah. I want to jump in there, and there's another question I'll ask you related to that, the season of life. Uh, I learned through my own journey that I was fighting. I gotta be honest, Kyle. I was fighting the demon of significance. So at an early age, I didn't like who I was not because of what I was, but they say that every thought. I did some cognitive training recently because of my concussion, and there's something I've heard that every thought is a kernel of truth. And up to about age 15, when we don't use the prefrontal cortex to really rationalize thoughts. As a kid, because I was a chubby kid, I was dark skinned, I was picked on, called names as well. And everything just went in. I didn't realize the power of the brain, but it gets wired in as truth. And even my parents and my dad, the things he said to me and what he did. So I went out and, I never realized, I never ever thought I was enough. I never thought I was good looking. I never thought all those things. And it's interesting you said, because you found a tribe through sports and just happened to stumble into cocaine. Uh, I was just doing on the treadmill in the gym here before I came on the show with you, and I was listening to a podcast. It's a lady who's written a book about dopamine, and it's a rush. It's people get addicted to cover up pain. So let's give it back to you. There you are, and you're in your life, and as you said, everybody, it's a teaching moment. This is a good-looking guy. Guy's very talented. He's got good parents, from what we've heard, and he doesn't know who he is. So take it from there. What happened? Because I don't know too many people who get into cocaine, and I know a few who find it easy to get out of that. How did you find yourself?
Yeah, again, it was a night that I wanted to go home, and the group of people I was with, I was like, "Yo, I'm tired. I can't do this." And they were like, "No, come out, come out, come out, come out, come out." Like they want egging me on, and they said it was a simple statement. I mean, we got something that can help you stay up.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you got like a Red Bull, you got a Monster back there, you got some espresso. And they were like, not exactly. And so it was a like 2-minute conversation. They bring it out, and I'm like, I have a decision to make.
Yeah.
My friend circle, who none of them are surprised by this being there. I go, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, I'll try it. Tom, watchers, listeners, I was hooked.
Yeah.
Because you take somebody that has a naturally higher octane of energy and give them something that speeds them up. It's a recipe for addiction.
Yeah.
And
Can you
that's what it
remember
was.
back? I don't want to get into all the gory details, but can you remember back in that moment when you took that first hit of cocaine? Uh,
100%.
because I've never had that experience, and I hope I don't. But just tell us what that felt like in that
Mhm.
moment, and then what happened, afterwards. Because I assume that it wears off, and then you're looking for, the next high, right?
Yeah. So, man, I haven't gone to that place mentally in a bit. But you really do think, oh, I have unstoppable energy. Like if your watchers have ever seen, like Limitless or,
Yeah,
The Matrix or something like that, you
yeah,
feel like that.
yeah,
And I mean, I was up for hours on end, still having energy, still doing stuff. And what was my downfall is, a lot of times you hear the sob stories of you start taking drugs, you stop doing the things you're supposed to do, you stop going to, class if you're in college,
yeah.
work if you're adult, all this. I was a fully functioning addict for like two and a
Wow,
half years.
wow, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
were you living on your own at that time? You were on campus,
hmm
or how was it?
So I was on campus at the university,
Yeah,
and just, kind of going to class. um, First time having freedom,
yeah.
and so I'm just wilding out and, partying most nights of the week. Um,
You had
and
access to
then,
the drugs. You had access
mhm,
to the drugs, right? I mean, how
yep.
not? I mean, the first question comes to mind is it's not an inexpensive habit. How are you funding your habit, man? Back then.
That's where the selling came in.
Okay.
And so I would just sell
Yeah.
and, use some of my profit to reinvest it,
Yeah. Amazing.
um, back into back
Yeah.
into it,
Yeah.
which is a terrible business model. You shouldn't use your own product, but
Actually, when you were telling the story, but by the way, I got to honor you and say I love your story and you, man, because to come nationally and talk about this is painful. I know from the work I've done on my improving myself that every day is a struggle to stay on the right track for people who come from adversity like us. I also want to tell you something funny that when you were telling me about that moment, I thought about that movie, The uh,
Wolf of
Wolf
Wall
of
Street.
Wall Street, and that McConaughey scene, right, where I mean, geez, it truly is a way of life for even people at the highest levels of business, even
Yep.
today. So there,
Yep.
so let's get back into the story. Give it back
Yeah.
to you. So there you are, and you're on the wrong track. You're now dealing.
Mm.
How'd you get from there out of that, and then what got you to another season? They call it in your life of realizing, I don't know, coaching, helping
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. So we'll fast forward about 2.5 years of consistent, scalable amounts of drug use.
And sorry,
To
were
a
your
night.
parents in? Sorry, were your parents involved? I mean, how was that playing out? Were they upset, angry? Were they supportive?
They were unaware.
Okay.
So part of people with an addiction is that
Yeah.
they get really good at hiding
Yes.
that
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And I worked really hard to keep a normal appearance.
Yeah.
Um, lost weight, but I just said I was going to the gym more, or, I wasn't at home. And so I would always make sure that I was in the right state of mind if I went home for, a holiday or a family dinner or whatever. So I've really crafted when I was going to see my
Yeah.
parents. And
Yeah.
so I think my dad probably had some inkling of like,
Yeah.
he's not probably doing everything he said is.
What did your dad do for a living?
Yeah, so my dad, I was born when my dad was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
And so my dad dropped out at 19, got his GED, started working in kind of oil and gas, pipe,
Yeah.
driving
Yeah.
trucks. And so that's what he was doing at the time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think my parents were aware but not confirmed. So
Yeah.
they kept a level of, being naive that I think
Yeah.
probably helped them through it all.
Well, I want to honor something here, man, because I have this emotional gut and I pick things up. I'm not always right, but most of the time I am. Dude, there's one thing that you just said that set me in a big smile in my head, that you have enough values as a human being to know if you went home, you're going to clean up your act a little bit. Hiding it maybe was emotional. I mean, there's different emotions, shame, guilt, whatever. But you hear all the train wreck stories of people who get addicted who become outwardly aggressive and hurt their people around them, including their families, man. So thank God for that.
Yeah.
So 2.5 years, then what?
So I do something I normally don't do, and that was actually deliver product to a place.
Yeah.
And so I get a call. Hey, can you do this? I don't have anybody that can do it. Um, so I say yes. So I show up, and I'm gonna see if I can get this in the frame. But I have a scar on
Let
my
me full screen
pinky.
you for a minute. Let me full screen you.
Yeah, let's see if I can show it. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
We'll
But
we'll
imagine.
we'll visualize it.
So there's a scar on the second knuckle of my pinky
Yeah.
and the second knuckle of my index finger that covered up my eye and my
Wow.
nose as I got jumped.
Oh my goodness.
So I had a pretty significant Superman complex through this whole
Yeah.
time of my life
Yeah.
and thought that I was invincible. Nothing was going to stop me.
Yeah.
With every successful deal, successful party, successful night, I
Yeah.
became more and more emboldened
Yeah.
and
So
confident.
sorry, I just got to jump in there. So were you high at that time? And everybody, we're talking to Kyle Sullivan, who's the founder of Unleash the Champ. He's talking about his journey from adversity through to helping people as a coach. Kyle, were you high? And the thing we see, Hollywood doesn't always tell us the truth, but it's a dangerous world dealing, right? I mean, are you running into tough situations, or is it just your average neighborhood person who's looking to buy, or what? Like, who jumped you? And
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up in a pretty suburban
yeah,
area. So, it wasn't hard streets and
yeah,
people on the corners. And so there was a bit of, it kind of funny to say, but there's a bit of class with the drug use. Um, Never said it like that. But I mean, we were like, taking it to neighborhoods
yeah,
and to college parties and to, the sketchiest we got was maybe taking it to, a bar bathroom or something.
yeah. So you felt
Um,
you were invincible, but then you got
yeah,
jumped. And was that the individual you were actually delivering to
yeah,
that did
one of
that to you?
them. Yeah.
Yeah,
And it was a deal that, is my name got thrown in a rumor and an accusation. And
yeah,
one thing about people who are maybe drunk or high or on drugs or whatever, not typically the most rational people.
yeah,
And so there was no like, hey, I heard this. Could you help me explain? There was none of that. So go into this house, thinking everything's good, gonna drop, it'll be fine. And I mean, literally the hell beat out of me.
yeah,
And I get out of the house, call a gentleman I knew from church, and I say, I need effing Jesus.
yeah,
I just didn't abbreviate anything.
yeah,
And so I went over, early AM hours, accepted Christ on the porch of, in between drags of a cigarette
yeah.
and went to sleep.
Man, that's like a defining moment. The more and more I study my faith, Kyle, and it's a teaching moment. Everybody would just come back and listen to that part there. That after literally having himself beaten by others, uh, turning to a friend saying, "I need Christ in my life," and receiving that. All these stories I hear as I'm watching the shows I watch for my own faith. I do online church. My wife and I watch it together. You hear these stories over and over again of people who have uh, fallen to adversity, and they're at that moment where they don't know where else to turn. And I'm fascinated by it because you would think that the time you would need that is when you're really starting to get addicted to the cocaine, but the same thing I went through. It's usually at a time of life where you're at your most brokenness, right? Which is amazing. By the way, I don't know if you believe in this or not, but the pastor that teaches us, says that prostitutes and addicts and things. Those are the people who get into the kingdom before the rich. I mean, those are the
Mm,
broken ones. Those are the people who, as long as they do something with their forgiveness and their story to help other people, those are the ones, right? They're chosen. I think you were chosen. So there you were, falling asleep on the porch, receiving uh, your faith. I know that you can't just get off cocaine and snap your fingers, so there must be some
yeah.
withdrawal. Or so, just if you can, in a couple minutes, tell us about how you got from there off uh, clean enough, and then uh, this thing about unleashing the champ, stepping
Yeah.
into your championship run. It sounds like this was the beginning. How'd that happen?
Yeah. Absolutely. So accept Christ on the porch, go to sleep, wake up the next day, and I have one question. What now? what do I do now? And the guy that I had a conversation with, I was at his house. He said, "Well, some pretty practical things you could do. You could probably, stop on the cheerleading team, stop going to the bars, stop that." Oh yeah, that's probably pretty good
Taking away all your
practical.
fun.
Right. And so, I mean, I went through from the university,
Oh, you did, eh?
left it all,
Wow.
and just said like, I gotta get a break for
Yeah.
a bit. So I, do some couch surfing, like any good college student can do and sustain for a while. And I just start going to church for myself. And Tom, it was weird because it was same church, the same type of sermons and messages and time and people, but it just made sense this time.
Yeah.
So I get to a place where I go, okay, there's a few months in and I hear the sermon and they're saying, hey, we need some people to, get involved with student ministry, 6th through 12th graders. And I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. And so I just started serving. Now, this was probably month 4, month 5 of me, self detoxing. So I didn't go to a treatment center. I didn't go to any kind of rehab. I just weathered the storm.
Man, that must have been hard.
Oh, there was a lot of hard nights,
Yeah,
cold sweats.
I bet.
Um, Luckily,
Good
I
for
had a
you.
great community of people that,
Yeah.
as I was couch surfing and going from place to place, they would, it seemed like every time I wanted to leave because I was weak, there was somebody awake,
Yep.
and
God's walking with you, man.
and I'm just like, just let me go, and they're like, no, go back to bed,
Yeah.
mother, you know,
Yeah.
type deal. So fast forward a bit, I make a decision pretty early in my faith that I said, okay, God, my yes is on the table. It's
Mhm.
just a simple agreement. And so things that came up, I said yes to. Things that were opportunities to grow, to lead, to learn, to serve, yes. And that kind of spurred in me this desire to create an experience where people could belong
Yeah.
before they believe or behave. And so that led me to that. Excuse me.
So I just want to paraphrase that because it's a teaching moment. Belong before you believe and behave. I mean, I know there's more beneath the surface, but
Yeah.
that's powerful because a lot of times belonging comes from thinking you have to fit in. You have to be fit inable. Whereas I think that's what keeps people away from, you know, from pursuing whether it's their dreams or being part of something. I also just want to say one more thing, man, because my head's going in different directions. That when it's funny you said that thing about you began to see opportunities differently because after I got injured, a brain injury, and I turned to my faith, I just remember saying to God, I said, I'm so confused. Should I go back and be a high executive? Should I do this? I don't even know anymore. And I said, I can't see the staircase. I can see the first step. So that I remember praying one day in my car and saying, look, God, just here's the thing. If I see a sign, then I'm just gonna, if it's right, you're gonna put it in front of me. I'm gonna go just follow that pathway. And there's been several mini miracles, man, the last few years where I've done tic tac toe, and I've went, what the? I would never have done that. In fact, some of my
Yeah.
buddies who were, because some of my buddies are like CEOs. That's my background. One of them was criticizing me for one of the things I was pursuing. And it didn't matter because God was in me. I would felt that
Right.
I was
Come
loved,
on.
and that was enough. And it's almost like I had to be stripped of my brain and my eyes for a while and my cognition to be able to find the right path. So I love you, man, and your story. Just keep going. So you're now here. You are,
Yep.
and you're creating this thing for a community. Tell us more.
Yeah. So I go back to school, not at the university I was at, but I moved to a different state, go back into school, get my degree, which was a huge deal.
What was the degree you got? What was your degree?
So I got a degree in Christian studies with theology and psychology
Wow.
as kind of the emphasis that
Yeah.
I went into. So, which was big, first one on my side of the family to go to college, to get a degree.
Yeah.
Um, it was just a big deal. Move, and I start as a youth pastor, and that was my heart. Is I
Well, I
remember what
think
it
that
was
was a
like.
big deal. We're gonna celebrate for a minute. Everybody, first university degree and then getting in and being a giver. There you go.
Yeah,
All right.
I love that. I love that. So, that's my thing. So it started a journey of 11 years being a pastor in various forms of ministry. So
Yeah.
I was youth pastor and in a bunch of different roles, probably 5 or 6 roles over the time. And it was all with the heart of helping people belong.
Love it. Love it.
No matter what the expression was, I got to work for amazing organizations that had global reaches, massively large churches. But the heartbeat was I want to create environments and experiences and connections for people to belong. That was it.
That's awesome.
And I was really, really good at it. And because that was what I needed.
Yeah.
So fast forward a few years, and October 5th, 2019 at 12:47 a.m., I unofficially started Unleash the Champ.
All right. Precisely 12:47 a.m. That's
Yeah.
amazing that you have that timestamp. I'm sure there's a bit of a
It's
story behind it.
it's when I held my daughter for the first time.
Oh man, you just got my heart. Dude, I was waiting for the right time to say, and you just became a dad recently. Everybody, the reason why I know that is we had scheduled before and there was a daddy issue we had to attend to.
Yeah.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah.
What's her name? What's her name?
So her name's Piper, and we just had our second. She just turned 2 in October, and our second is 3.5 months old.
Oh, and boy, girl, second.
Yep. So it's a little girl and then a little boy.
What's the boy's name?
Bo Grant.
Sweet. So
Yes, sir.
Piper and Bo
Piper
Grant.
and Bo. Yes, sir.
Oh man. And what's your wife's name?
Ginger.
All right, dude, you got it's like a rainbow of names. We're gonna dedicate this show to the family. How's that? That's
Perfect.
amazing. But it does. I mean, as a young dad, does it change your life?
100%.
Yeah.
And, Tom, as I was walking Piper back, I'd been a dad for all of probably 2 minutes at this point.
Yeah.
And I'm walking from the room, delivery room to the post-op room, and they tell you, they got your wife and everything's there. They say, all right, you can take her back to the room. And I'm like, who's coming with me?
Yeah.
I got this little life that's all of 2 minutes old, and you gonna send me to a room by myself? No. I need a nurse to come with me.
Hey, if you can be
And
on the basketball and the cheerleading squad, you can do
yeah,
anything.
I'm like, oh my goodness. So I just I make an agreement in myself, and I said, I'm looking at the little bassinet. Piper Grace, I'm going to give you presence of time, not just presence of things.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know how I was going to do it because I worked in ministry. It had its own level of demands. We worked the weekend because that's when church is, and so I just was like, the time that I have, we're going to maximize it. And I just thought that would be it because we loved what we were doing. It was a family calling. We felt like this is the thing.
Yeah.
And then this thing we've all been living in, the pandemic hits in March of 2020. Piper at the time is about 4.5 months old.
Yeah.
And so everybody goes home. And for us, with all of the bad that happened through the pandemic and the effects that we're still feeling, I got to see all of the milestones of my daughter's life in person.
That's awesome. That's a silver lining, right?
Yeah.
That's that's one of God's many gifts. If you look at it that way, I really
Yeah.
hope that everybody come back and listen to. We're talking to Kyle Sullivan, founder of Unleash the Champ. I hope everybody comes back and listen to that last piece, what you just said about through all the fog of COVID. Find those moments, those gifts, and for you, it was living all the moments of your daughter's life. I want to just share something quickly with you because my head went on a journey about the daughter story. It's real funny because I when I first married, I inherited a 9 and 12-year-old, so I have no kids to two stepkids. They're older now. My wife's a bit older than me, but I had my first daughter. We lost my son preterm, so it was very devastating. The gift of my daughter came. So we're in the hospital. It's almost like deja vu. I could have said, "Are we changing stories here?" And she had a C-section because she was built to carry, not to deliver. And they take the baby, give it to me, and say, "Okay, Mr. Dutta, you go up, take the baby." So I'm going like, "What?" I still remember Kyle that day wearing this green shirt with light green shirt with dark green stripes, and it's my favorite shirt, right? Because my daughter's eyes, these little eyes, she was tiny, were beanie staring at the stripes of my shirts. I don't know if she could see. So I go upstairs and they put me in this room, and I stuck this finger because I didn't know what to do. I put it in her mouth and she sucked on my finger for like 3 hours. It was like a prune after. But man, as that started happening, I started getting stressed. Like, where's my wife? Where's my wife? Sure enough, Anna comes up and they said there was a bit of a complication and, blah, blah, blah. So, okay, well, she had to stay in the hospital for 1 week after delivery, which I was just being a new dad. I thought this is normal. And then one day the nurses are coming in the room and they go, "Oh, Mrs. Dutta, we're so sorry. What happened to you?" And we're going like, what happened to her? Didn't you hear they cut almost the whole top of her bladder off. So they didn't just, they told us before they nicked her bladder. They cut most of it off. The bladder's that wide, most of it off. And she had to wait for a surgeon to come in to stitch it up. She lost a ton of blood. And I mean, I can laugh at it now, but it's like, man.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So, I mean, I attached to the story of my daughter arriving, that part of it, but also the many miracles that came of, it could have lost my wife or it could have been
Wow.
other things. So children bring a blessing. I have a few more minutes. I want to get to wrapping up with you, but really want to get your quick commercial about Unleash the Champ. It sounds like an amazing thing. You've created a program. I've seen some reel of you or pictures of you on stage speaking. Just tell us about, in today's world, what are you doing, man? And how can people get a hold of you and check that out?
Yeah, absolutely. So Unleash the Champ is a culture coaching company, and we're just passionate about creating personal and professional cultures that don't suck, so that
Cultures that
the
don't suck.
cultures that don't suck,
I love it.
so that you can win and make the championship run for you. So, what does it mean to suck? You're subpar, you're underwhelming, you're confusing, and you're killers of momentum that you could have. And so, when you win, you walk in the newness. So, we don't want to suck. We want to win. We create cultures that create a champ. Champ stands for your calling, your heart, your altitude, mindset, performance. So, we're a culture coaching company that helps you create cultures that don't suck.
That's pretty amazing. I didn't really realize the acronyms and whatnot. I'll have to go to your website and get that down. But I just wrote on my paper cultures that don't suck. Just funny thing, Kyle. I was just doing a coach because I do executive coaching now, just part time, just to keep my headspace. And I was talking to this fella, and they've merged two companies together, a couple concrete companies, and he said, we still have this us and them kind of thing. And I said, would it be helpful if next time I see you in a month, if we kind of do some work on that to talk about
Yeah.
how to build culture, because
Yeah.
bringing together different cultures. Yeah.
100%.
So, I mean, it's a great space to play in. So, primarily, who are you working with? Who's the ideal person that you're working with?
So, entrepreneurs that have at least 5 people on their team. So that's the professional side. They're leading a team. They got mission, vision, values. They're confident in what they're doing, but they don't feel like they're running at that champion level. And then on the personal side, so we have 2 verticals of our business. The personal side is people that have solved the money problem, but they're asking, man, is there more? Is this all for me? Do I have more in the tank? So those are the 2 veins that we run right now. 80% is in the personal side, 20% in the professional with working with teams.
And why did you turn to, and why do you like coaching?
Listen, I am fortunate to always have people in my life, even to this day, that push me further than I think is possible.
Yeah.
And so for me, I love the art of coaching because you uncover layers to people, and it's not teaching, but it's coaching, and it's bringing out the champ that's within them.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. Was there some overlap with that learning from when you were in sports as well?
100%.
Yeah, you see a lot of
sports
athletes
and
now.
Ministry and all of it. It just compounds. I believe that everything in life is just the precursor for the next assignment of our calling and of our championship run.
That's pretty cool. And have you brought into that some of your learnings from your faith? Is it a faith-based program, or have you just brought in some stuff to?
So once people hear like, oh, he's a pastor for 11 years, they know they're going to get some faith to it. It's not exclusively like a Christian coaching company, but you're going to get faith. You're going to get belief. You're going to get hope. You're going to get grace. You're going to get mercy. It's just not going to be packaged overtly Christian. So it's just fun. It's a blast, and I'm certified in Myers-Briggs and Strength Finder and EQI and all of these assessments.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to be able to take people that they go, okay, this is what I got. Here's where I'm stuck. With a few tweaks, you can create that culture that just soars.
It's totally. Everybody, founder of Unleash the Champ. We're talking to Kyle Sullivan. It's funny because through my career, I've done 7 or 8 assessments. Myers-Briggs, I remember it. I'm an ENTJ. And what's interesting too about the faith, this is a true story, by the way. When I went through my depression, I was kind of ruminating at home, just trying to stay above it. And I remember watching the faith stuff on TV, right? And I started studying the Bible. And one day I had this weird thing. I could take a photo and send it to you. You'll probably laugh, but I take these flip charts I have on the wall, and I stuck one up. It's got the sticky band. And I had this bizarre thought, and it went like this. I said, I'm going to draw an organization structure when I was a CEO. And then I'm going to draw an organization structure of God. And this is absolutely true. Do you mind if I just take a minute on this? Because it's something that you triggered. So I became a CEO at the age of 31. So at the top, so this is my organization. I would have board of directors. I had an American board, and I was running the Canadian part of their company. Then there's me, the box is the CEO. Then below me, I had, I think at the time, 5 what they called vice presidents, one of each function: HR, operations, sales, marketing. 5 vice presidents, and then below that, the organization, all the people, right, who actually are the ones who really do all the hard work and run it. And I remember, and now I do, I was involved in CEO peer groups for a while, coaching or chairing them, where you bring CEOs together to mastermind.
Mhm.
And then I was a member in one for 7 years when I became a CEO. And that's when I learned the term, it's lonely at the top.
Mm.
Because when I got into that role, man, I never realized going from senior management to that. But you can't complain to your VPs. You can't go to your board because they can fire you and say, I'm feeling a little stressed right now. So you got nowhere to go. And because I denied my faith, I didn't have God in my life. And my dad left home. I didn't have a father figure. So I turned to alcohol, drinking, and other things to kind of deal with that pain. So I drew this org chart. Oh, no, sorry. So when I became a CEO, after a while, they gave me a coach. I was like, oh, I don't need one of those. And I was in denial because I had all these blind spots. But I had a coach. So I drew on the other side. I said, okay. Oh, and above me was vision. So the CEO creates culture and creates a vision and then moves the organization to it. So
Mhm.
over here, I put God. God's the CEO, right? Uh, and then no, sorry, God is the vision. So he's the top, the kingdom. He's the vision. Jesus is the CEO. He sent Jesus, the CEO, and below Jesus was his disciples, right? So that's like my VPs. And then below that, what did all the disciples do? They went out telling stories. They wrote the books in the Bible to teach everybody, right? My VPs
Yep.
did that. So as a CEO, I said, here, guys, this is my vision. This is how we need to act and behave and drive this kingdom vision of the company. You go out now and take it through the front lines. And I remember when I looked at that going, oh my God, Jesus had a coach. I mean, his father, he had a coach. And he wasn't on his own. Although when he said, "How can you forsake me, Father?" when he was on the cross, but he had a coach, somebody that was there coaching him and teaching him. And when I was a CEO, I had a coach. Here's the aha moment for me. If I had had faith and realized that when I was a CEO in corporate America, I could have Christ as my coach, that would have been huge. Because I know a lot of guys today that are at that level, Kyle, who will tell me in private under the cone of silence that they pray before their board meetings.
Mm.
Or if they have to make a big decision like outsourcing and firing a bunch of people, they say a prayer. They talk to God. They use their faith. Or if the wheels are falling off or the wife's walking out on them because they're never home, they're turned into their faith. In
Wow.
that in corporate America, people just won't talk about it because there's a stigma. It's like mental
Right.
health. Anyway,
Right.
I want to thank you for letting me steal a few minutes on the show to share that, because that's my
Absolutely.
two org charts, man, and that's how I realize now that I always had there was always a coach there for me in Jesus Christ. I just didn't realize it, and now I
Yeah.
have it, the ultimate.
I love it, man, and that I love the imagery of that. It resonates so much
Yeah,
with
I'll
me.
try to
So
find the picture and send it to you.
come on.
Anyway, we're going to honor you with a couple things before we wrap up. So the first thing is, uh, I do this when we're talking. I script it on my paper. People listening to the podcast wouldn't have seen it, but I want to honor you with 4 words. These are leadership words that come to me just through talking to you. So the first one is integrity, man. You're a man of integrity for owning up to what your demons were. I love how you went to detox and you did all that yourself, how you had the integrity to respect your family despite the challenges you had. Number 2 is leadership. You speak, you teach, it comes out of you. Number 3 is resilience. Going from the story of adversity we heard, and everybody listened to it again, to pushing through and overcoming. They say that one of the top attributes of leaders today is resilience. And the last one, which might seem a little odd, is the word simplicity. There's something about you, man, that you teach when you teach and talk. It's not complicated. It's real. It's simplistic enough that it's perfect. And I love the cultures that don't suck. I think I'm going to use it. I'm going to say to people, I know a guy, if your culture sucks, I know a guy you can talk to.
Come on.
Now, yeah. Now I'm going to full screen me, and you're probably wondering why is he doing that. I want you to look at something on the screen there. So behind me, you see this little image. There's a guy, kind of looks like somebody I know. So we'll bring you back here. Basically, you're getting an award. And so when I started the show, I had this vision of having a platform for bringing people of all walks of life, but people who are broken, who had the adversity, that had overcome it, because I believe that's about 90% of the planet, but most of them don't talk about it, but have discovered how to use it for a purpose to help and change people's lives. And so this is what's called a challenge coin. I had them handcrafted, painted in the United States. The front is the show image. The back is actually the hero's journey narrative. It's a map of Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, which is really the threads in the show about seeking and coming back and teaching. So welcome to the Quiet Warrior tribe, man. You get one of these coming to you.
Come on, man. I appreciate it. That's really cool. I really appreciate it.
And I also want to let you know that in a planet of 8 billion, I'm not being egotistical here. These are hard to get. I don't let everybody on the show. I tested you a bit. And so by receiving it, you commit to carrying it with you, to commit to your purpose, action, and throughout your lifetime, keep doing what you're doing. These coins, by the way, started in World War II, carried by soldiers to commit to community. And today, challenge coins are used all over the world. First responders, Alcoholics Anonymous, they're very common. So there's 17 countries now my show's in, and you're now connected to about 200 people around the world who actually are part of this growing tribe. So welcome.
Wow. Again. Well, man, I appreciate it. And I do want to commend you. At first, it's like, man, there's a lot to go through. But it just shows your intentionality. And so all the listeners and watchers know that if somebody's on here, you've successfully and fully vetted them. And so I really appreciate the intentionality you show in your show and what you're doing.
Thanks, man. And so we'll just close by dedicating the show to Piper, Bo, and Ginger, and their champ, Kyle. And I might even see if I can send a couple extra coins if I can find a way to do that for the little ones. That'll be awesome. A story you can tell. All right, man. Absolutely. Tell everybody where they can get a hold of you. Have you got a website or something?
Yeah. So website is kylejsullivan.com. I'm most active on social media on Instagram at Kyle J. Sullivan. So either way, kylejsullivan.com at Kyle J. Sullivan. You'll find me. I'd love to hear your story, and just make sure to put Quiet Warrior so I know where it came from.
Okay, perfect. Everybody, find that true purpose and passion like you hear from Kyle. Take action like he's done to shift people's lives and live the life that you deserve and you desire. Hey, Kyle, thanks, man, and look forward to having you back anytime.
Absolutely, Tom. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to The Quiet Warrior Show. Create is a motive-based leadership development firm. www.kreat.ca